Hi, this is Lori from Chickenwood Studio, and welcome to episode, I think, 21. And if you're a returning viewer, you know I was anticipating the trip to Edinburgh and the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and then coming home to a couple more weeks of snow and winter. Anyway, welcome to you. If this is your first time visiting my podcast, I talk about knitting, spinning, and sewing, and soap making, little weaving, and recently I've been talking more about some gardening and herb growing. That's been fun and exciting. So if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back, and if you like it, subscribe, and then you'll get notifications about when I'll be posting again. I have a lot of things to talk about today. Quite a variety, and I have made a list of things, but I'm a little bit rough around the edges, but I'm just going to go for it because if I wait for perfection and absolute preparation, I'll never get it done. So come along with me and we'll talk about Edinburgh and some new things that I picked up there and some things that I finished here, which is super exciting for me. It feels so good to get things done. And kind of talk about some new themes upcoming and some exciting news and collaboration and a prize winner. I had said in my Ravelry group, which is Chickenwood Studio Ravelry group, I think it's just called Chickenwood Studio, last time. I posted an announcement about the new episode and asked a question to the members if they had grown herbs, and if they had, what did they love to grow and how did they love to use it. So we had a few answers there, and I'll share those with you later. I found that to be really fun and interesting. So I think I'll begin with, I don't know where to begin. What does my list say? Well, thank you. And thank you to new members at the Ravelry group as well. And I'm really glad to share this with you. And I enjoy watching a lot of podcasts myself. And it's just great to have this group of knitters and makers and a lot of things besides knitters. But I'll tell you, being in Edinburgh with such a great number of co-makers, it was just a charge. It was just so fun. It was just like so, I can't think of the word. It'll come to me. Anyway, it was great. So I'll start right in with a little bit of that. I didn't take a lot of photos. Took very little video. I was so busy just taking it all in for myself, and sometimes my phone was dead because it was so cold. The one day that we were walking around downtown, I really could not take many photos because it was bitter cold and spitting snow and windy, and wow, surprising. So anyway, I traveled with Corinne, my daughter, and our friend Andrea, who is Adirondack knitter out of Newburgh, the Stewart Airport. It was a direct flight to Edinburgh overnight, so it was nice that we got there Wednesday morning and went straight to our Airbnb, which was lovely, and we were able to take some naps and rest up and get our bearings until the afternoon when P. Fortune Patricia joined us. So the four of us had the Airbnb for the week, almost a week, and that was just really lovely. It even had a little gas fireplace, and I did video and take a few pictures of that. We had some fun singing around the fireplace a few nights. If any of you follow Patricia on Instagram, she posted some stories with some singing, and that was really fun. So the first night we went to a couple knit nights at restaurants downtown, and that was like the first bit of arriving at a place where many, many people were there just sitting around tables chatting and knitting. And they were from all over the place. We met Kate from Ireland at one of them, and I met Jeanette Budge from Shetland first off. I was wearing my Shetland cardigan, and she noticed, and we had a great conversation. It was just so nice to catch up with her and other Shetlanders that I knew later on in the weekend. So it was a great start. And we attended the Thursday night, humongous knit night out under the big tent at the event. And we attended Kate Davies' Saturday morning talk, which was fabulous. was really great to listen to her speak in person and hear her story, and just to be there for her presentation. And it was just very moving and very real. And I appreciate her for all that. What did we do? Sunday was meet the shepherd and shepherdesses after, it was like from 10 to 2. And I had been super looking forward to that. And I'll talk more about that a little later, because I'm going to share just 2 things that I picked up today. Later on, I may share some other yarns as I begin to work with them. But today, I'm going to look at my notes for a second and say, well, our first waiting in line, I think I was going to say the fun part was meeting so many people from everywhere who had made the trip there. And just waiting in line that first morning, we met Helena, who is Edelweiss28 on Instagram, and just had such a nice conversation while we stood there in line, freezing and huddling for warmth, and the adrenaline of getting there, and that was helping to keep warm too. So we met several podcasters inside, and of course the people, the vendors who I'd been watching for all this time and planning. That was awesome to meet them and have quick chats. It was very busy, so there wasn't a lot of time to linger too long, but there were time, and they were all gracious. They were all just lovely. It was just a treat, even though there were sometimes short lines and sometimes longer lines waiting. Everyone was just the best, and it was pleasant. Even the shoppers were pleasant. It was just a great atmosphere. And I have to say, after I sip some water, one of the highlights of the event is that they value people and their time together socializing. And so they organize these official knit nights and then extra knit nights in restaurants in town. And they had this huge tent that housed 500 people with tables and great lighting and sometimes music and food. And they had lovely vendors for tea and snacks and lunch available everywhere. But they really seemed to embrace that part of our experience, or to provide for us so that we could embrace it. The time and the space to just sit down and be about what we're there for. Meeting people, comparing purchases and projects and things we were wearing. That was an amazing thing, because it was cold enough that everyone was wearing their woolies all the time. And so we met some really interesting people. Friday afternoon, one of the highlights was that we had afternoon tea at a place called The Dome, which was really sweet. I posted a little video from that. That was fun. Lovely day. And then slowly people had to go home, and our roommates went home, and Corinne and I had an extra day. So we took the train out to North Berwick, which is a seaside village, which was just pure magic. The sun came out. It was chilly, but it was a beautiful, clear, sunny day. And to get the train, we had to go downtown first. So we walked around a little bit, chatted up with the piper on the sidewalk, saw the Scott Monument, and the train ride out to North Berwick was just beautiful. It was great to just get out of the city, be in the countryside. And I was looking for the sheep. There were no sheep anywhere in sight. Gorgeous fields right down to the sea. And I had mentioned that on a post, and Catherine from Wales had said to me, probably they're more up in the hill country, which does make sense. We didn't get to the hills at all. That was one of our hopes, to get a day out to hike and visit a farm up in the hills a little bit. But we just ran out of time, and it was miserable cold until that Monday. So we made the best of it and went to that beach and had a little dinner in town, and went home around a little after sunset. It was great. Next day we had to get up and get to the airport and head home. But we're talking about maybe next year as well, planning ahead. And we met lovely, lovely friends from Edinburgh who we really look forward to seeing again when we go back. Oh, it was great. Tell you, it was so nice just to be in the UK, but and be in Scotland, actual Scotland, after having been to Shetland a couple times, and England, and Wales. That was my first time really in Scotland. Way too short. So, well, moving on, other stories may bubble up as we get through this today. So I did purchase some yarn, of course, a couple books, and did a little bit of knitting, started a new project there. And I think I'll begin with the yarn. I'll share with you my bookend yarn vendors, because the first one was the one I made a beeline to when we first arrived, and the second is from the Shepherdess Day on Sunday, who I couldn't see until Sunday. But I went back and forth to her booth several times to visit, to take a picture, to talk about island shepherding a little bit. And this is one of my favorite shots. I don't know if you can see the sheep, the island. They're taking sheep. Whoa, the glare. Up in Maine, they're taking a load of sheep out to an island. And, I talk a lot about the Nash Island flock and the Nash Island sheep. Yeah, so it's really cool to bump into island shepherds all over the place. And that would be who I'm talking about, is the Berlin Yarn Company. Since I'm speaking of that, I'll go right to her yarn first. And she's, I think, in the Outer Hebrides, and I don't think I got a card for her business. Maybe I did. What's this? Nope, it's a yarn tag, but it'll suit. I've been reading and about her Hebridean yarn for a long time. Well, since I first heard of it through New Hampshire Knits podcast last summer. She had gone over there and interviewed Meg out on her island. So they talked about the stormy gray Hebridean, and this is it. Oh, look at that color. I'm just in love with it. And it's all 4-ply. 4-ply. Let's see, 100 grams, 350 meters. So it's a fluffy, it looks like it's pretty woolen spun. Very lovely. And Corinne Clare at New Hampshire Knits is stocking some of the Berlin Yarn Company's Hebridean. So that was the stormy gray. And then I did get the peaty brown, which I talk about all the time. Finally got some more peaty brown. This time it's from the Berlin Yarn Company. There's the label. I don't know what I'll be doing with these, but I really, something will rise to the surface and want to be knitted. Then I did pick up a ball of their marled, the speckled hen. And to me, that just looks like a lovely pair of socks. Warm, not too heavy because it's 4-ply, but snuggly. Now, since it's 100% yarn, I may reinforce the heels and toes with some woolly nylon just to protect them. But that'll be great. Then Meg had some colors dyed on her stormy gray, I believe. And I only did get this one color to do a shawl that she had on her stand called the Wildflower shawl. I'll be showing you that, I think, in my ongoing projects. So I'll show you more of that. Here's the card for the business. So if you are interested in purchasing some, you could contact, if you're in the U.S., you can contact Claire at the Woolly Thistle and see what she has in stock. This color was Reef. It's called Reef. It's a beautiful teal. That's pretty close. It's a little more of a yellowish hue in real life. And she had some beautiful golds and pinks as well. And I am going to do a hat in these colors, the peaty brown, the stormy gray, and I'm going to do the reef color for this hat. This is another pattern of theirs, which Corinne is doing. It's a buttoned cowl, the zigzag. I forgot what it's called, but she's doing really well on that. She started a couple things over there, and she's working on a sweater from her Rhinebeck time, so I'll have her on again sometime. That would be fun. So that was Berlin Yarn Company, and then the one I ran to in the beginning was Midwinter. Whoops, that's not it. Here we go. Midwinter from Wales. I have been following them a long time on Instagram and just really wanted to see and feel this black and white by them. It is DK weight, 100% Welsh wool, blue face Leicester, and black BFL. So it's this gorgeous gray. And when you dye on a gray like that, you get beautiful, deep, rich tones. And they do a wonderful job. So I have some kind of sweater project in mind for this. I don't think it would be what's the one with the flowery yoke? A Birkin. Because I think that's done in a finer yarn. Of course, I could adjust probably but these are the colors that I chose to run with the gray. And I think with the gray, that'll be just, the gray would be the body of the sweater, and then the colors sprinkled across the yoke. So after some cogitating, we'll come up with a plan for that, but I do have others to finish before I can even think about that. But they'll just be waiting patiently on the shelf for that. So those were the two I'll talk about today. I'm sorry for the noisy plastic bag. Also, I did get some books up there, and I'll show you this one first. I was so happy to see the Shetland Wool Week table and to see that two things were still available on their table. So I'll show them both to you. This one, 60 North, the magazine from Shetland, featuring Donna Smith on the cover. Yay! Donna Smith. If you don't know Donna Smith, she's a Shetland designer. She lives on a croft and she has sheep, and she both sells her yarns, which are beautiful, and I'd love to try. I wish she had been a booth vendor up there, but perhaps next year. We'll see. And she does beautiful designs, and she's learned from her great aunt straight the traditions of Shetland knitting from way back, and she teaches as well. And I took one of her classes at Shetland Wool Week about how to make a traditional hat. Really lovely person and great teacher. And then there was this one, the Fair Isle Designs from Shetland Knitters, Volume 1. I believe it's out fairly recently, and a few of the designers in here I know from previous trips. So I was really happy to see them published now, and really excited to look deeper in and look at the patterns and get going on some of them. Beautifully made book, beautiful, clear presentation, clear designs and diagrams, and yes, so that's another treasure, Shetland treasure. So let's see. Oh, in terms of Shetland as well, I'll also show you two other things. Speaking of Wool Week, because that week was the week they announced the patron of next year's Wool Week, who is Elizabeth Johnson, who I met in Shetland as well a few times, and spoke with her this time. It was just great to catch up. And this is her pattern for Shetland Wool Week. It's really a beautiful hat pattern, and she was telling me about, and perhaps that's written in here, it probably is. If you go to the Wool Week website, I believe the pattern is available for free as a download. And hopefully, I think it's probably exactly what this little booklet is, leaflet. And I think in the back, no, it doesn't tell her story. It's in the beginning, maybe. Yeah, this pattern is really derived from a lot of traditional things. Both the, heavens, forgive me. The name of it is the Merry Dancers. And the Merry Dancers are the Northern Lights. That's what the Shetlanders call the Northern Lights up there. So some of the motifs depict overall the lights shimmering, but also the specific ones she was telling me are from original patterns from work that is in the Shetland Museum and Archives in Shetland. So it is derived from way back. So it has, traditional background and techniques, and represents, eons, a long time of knitting tradition from Shetland. So I love her design for that reason, and I look forward to making that. And while I saw Elizabeth, she had these cushions on display at her booth. And I just picked up the pattern because I've always wanted to make one of these and have a little reminder of the Shetland wool and the designs just in everyday space, not just in a sweater or hat that I only wear, half the year. So I look forward to getting that on the needles sometime on the horizon. So what's next? Shall I move on to FOs? Yeah, why not? I have a few. They're like almost FOs. The initial work is done on a couple of these, but the finishing is yet to be done. But I'll share them today anyway, just because I'm happy about them. This is a set of towels from the loom, which was kind of a bare project, but I think I have 4 towels out of it, and it's a beautiful 8-shaft pattern put out by Webs. If you wanted to find it, I do have the sheet. I'll see if I can put that in some notes somewhere, the name of the pattern. It's a purchase pattern, but you can download it. And if you have an 8-shaft loom and actually, I think this is the wrong side I'm showing you. It is. Here's the right side. Silly me. It looks very snowflakey. Isn't that gorgeous? It's just 100% cotton. 8-2 cotton. If you're a weaver of cotton, that's the weight. That's a common weight for towel weaving. I had some frustrations with the pattern just my own warping of the loom and making mistakes in the threading, and it was kind of a headache. By the end of it, I really was a little just burned out, and I ended up deciding to just switch to 4-shaft patterns, and I think I'm going to do that from now on, just because there's so many beautiful things you can do with 4-shaft pattern. And I've explored a little with 8 shafts, and they're great, but they just take that much extra bit of scope and time of threading and potential for problems. But I'm really glad I had a chance to try them, and I know a lot of weavers do awesome things with them. So if you're curious at all and you're a weaver and you'd like to go for it, I encourage you to do it. I would never discourage anyone from trying any kind of weaving techniques or equipment. So I will have some new towels on the loom again soon. I moved another loom up into my space. It's right here behind you. It's an older 45-inch wide 4-shaft counterbalance, and I'm going to put a couple of cotton summer blankets on there, baby blankets, I hope. One maybe. So it's a quick project, and then another towel project, and I'll update you on that when that gets going. I'm waiting for a part in the mail. As considering all the time this has been in storage, to be able to put it back up with only one part missing is quite amazing. So I had to call the woolery and have them send out a little piece of metal, very important one. So other FOs, the other almost FOs. So the other one is my Beth Sweater, which is a Kate Davies design, which there were a ton of them up in Scotland. A lot of people had their Beths. They had the different combinations of stripes and color blocks there's a lot of potential for that in this design. So I just have to sew up my sleeves, my underarm sections, and sew in the ends. But and I'm still not sure if I'm going to redo the neck or not. I dropped like 3 needle sizes for this ribbing on the neck, and it's just a little too close. But here it is, not blocked or anything. But it fits great. I had reduced the size and stitch number around the body, and it fits much better now. And it's not cropped, but it's just the right length. I'm so glad. And the sleeves are just fine as well, just perfect. I couldn't believe it. Of all the bad sweater experiences I've had lately, this one is really hitting it, except for the close, tight neck. I think I'll block it out a little bit and see. I mean, it just makes it too hot. And the one on the pattern that Kate Davies is wearing, I'll show you the photo. I don't know, I just think it looks a little more relaxed and a little more open around her neck. So it's lower. It's kind of dark, so you can't really see that well, but there you go. Definitely need more open necks these days. So, so this was super, super exciting, and maybe I'll wear it next time, unless it's summer by the time we podcast again. It's very heavy. I did it with, I was telling you, two bits of hand spun from the same fleece, all spun the same. It's a 3-ply, probably DK weight. Where are we here? There we go. Probably DK weight, very lightly spun. But put together, it's a very bulky knit. It was size 10.5, probably 3. Oh, wow. Yeah, probably 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3.5 to the inch. 3.5 stitches to the inch on 10.5 needles, and it weighs a ton, but it's going to be super cozy. And if we get another winter like this year, I'll be loving it. So that was good. And then the final FO here, which I did post on Insta, is the Isle of Purbeck shawl. Tales from the Isle of Purbeck. And it came out beautifully. I got it blocked, and I've been wearing it, and it's just lovely. It's the design by Annie Claire with Isle Yarn. And it was just beautiful project to knit. I would knit another one. I would. It's really great. So, once in a while it works out right the first time. It's very satisfying as opposed to garments that don't fit right. I should talk about what I'm wearing. This was last winter I did this. Sorry if the microphone just went bad. This is the Spring Festival shawl. Now I don't remember who designed it, but I had it up in the podcast last spring, and I've been wearing it a lot lately. It's just perfect. It goes with green sweater, goes with everything. Blue jeans, white, cream, green, pink. And it's Eucalyptus Forest by Woolberry Company. Fingering weight, sock weight. It was a pattern designed for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival a couple years back, I believe. And today I'm wearing FO from quite a while back. This is Alice Starmore's Inishmore in Cascade. Yes, Cascade 220. It's a foresty, kind of a heathery green. And been nice to wear that again this year too. I think for years I hardly wore it at all. So now I think I'll go into some projects that I'm working on. Current ones, maybe a couple new ones that started. And then I have a couple that I'm going to highlight. I thought I would feature some projects from the languishing pile. I've been thinking that I would kind of take stock of everything that I have begun in this next season and kind of rein things in a little bit, kind of focus on the old abandoned friends and just take them up again, like they feel like new again, really. As I finish a couple of new things and start a couple of new things, I really would like to decide if these older ones are really going to happen and make them a real thing, or let them go and frog them and just say uncle. And so we'll see. Maybe you'll have an opinion or two. This one I started before we went to Scotland to have a sock on the needle while we were traveling. This was a crazy Zauberball. Gorgeous colorway. Probably size 2.25 needles. And it is a vanilla latte sock design. Don't know who that is by, but it's kind of a broken rib in there. And I do this toe-up sock with a heel flap gusset thing. And I've been using... Oops, this is a vanilla latte sock pattern. Sorry, got the wrong one. Now I can't tell you who it was, but there are a few out there if you were curious to Google how to do that. I've done wedge heels and fish lips heels and other sweet tomato sock heel. And I think the most favorite is this one because it fits me the best, and I can still do the toe up and have the heel flap going on, and it's just become my favorite. So I'm in the section where I'm increasing, and soon I will do the short row at the back of the heel and then start decreasing and get back up to the ankle. So that's just kind of what I've come to prefer sock-wise. And I also, the things that I brought up, I guess they're all there's a couple of new starts. Well, there's one here that I thought I would finish in time for the trip, but I didn't. The bracket hat, I'm on the decreasing, I believe. It's that oatmeal hand-spun Romney. Romney, probably a Romney cross. I don't think Romneys naturally come in an oatmeal color like a Shetland would, but probably she had a cross on her farm. Isn't that nice and lovely? It's a little hard on my hands, I have to admit. Such a bulky yarn and big needles. I think, I don't know, hand spun sometimes, for my hand spun is more dense than I think I would like it to be, but then it kind of needs to be in order to maintain its gauge. Let's see, going on. Here's the new one. Here's the one I started with the Berlin Yarn Company Reef Color Hebridean. It's the Macher Wildflower Shawl. And these patterns are available on their website for a PDF download if you're interested in trying. This is an asymmetrical, not really a trapezoid, but it's not really an asymmetrical. It's like a cut-off asymmetrical triangle with lace and different stitches representing different flowers on the Macher. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I think I asked her, and I'm not sure if I've kept that right. So I have begun it, but not too far in. And it's going to block out, more lacy. I love it. These are size 3 needles, and this is their fingering weight yarn. And it's a bit of a tricky start, but I think once I get going, really going more, I'm going to keep my bearings better. I have to sit and concentrate each time I pick it up, but it's still lovely. And then one other that I've begun, which I just posted this morning, is a new mitten project. This is a mitten that I was inspired to knit after watching Patricia's of Knitography's latest trunk show vlog. She's doing the trunk shows about the Norwegian mittens from the Fairy Tale Mitten book. And I was all set up with my yarn colors to do the first one that she had taught about in a previous episode, the blueberry mittens. But then after she talked about the Billy Goat's gruff mittens, I just kind of thought, I have colors that would really work with that. So I'm making them, and I was able to get one of the books. So thankful for that. It's in Norwegian, but the charts are workable, and Patricia's helpful with many parts of the process in her vlogs. And there is an English version in a downloadable ebook if you're interested. You can find it on Ravelry, Fairy Tale Mittens book, something like that. Or even if you go and you type up this Eventyrrater, and they'll show you the English version, I believe, that you could purchase and download. When you download, you get the Norwegian and the English. And I printed up I had purchased one of those, printed up the Norwegian one, and wrote to Patricia, "Can you help me translate? I don't understand this." So she says, "You just downloaded the wrong one. Go back and download the English one." So I did. But I'm really happy to have this book as well, because there's so many gorgeous mittens. And if you're curious about them, take some time and go visit her vlog on Knitography podcast on YouTube, and you'll learn so much about them and the history and the stories, and Patricia's enthusiasm and love for so much about the stories and the knitting is just great, and it's very catching. So as you can see, I've started the mitten, And this is about the three billy goat scruff going over the bridge. That's the bridge. That's the troll under the bridge. It's kind of scary. And we're going to embroider some yellow, scary yellow eyes in there later on. And I've started the thumb gusset. I have a couple more rows to that, and then I'm going to be putting that, I'm going to be knitting waste yarn into that row, slipping those stitches back on the needle, and then knitting across them with beginning the hand part. I'm not so, and this is with the Finul garn from Norway by Alma. And there's a little Shetland blended in. I had some scraps of Jameson and Smith, which I used for some of the colors, like the navy and the blue, because they are interchangeable, beautifully interchangeable. So really happy with that. So when they're done, speaking of Patricia, I will be putting them on these gorgeous mitten blockers that Patricia has made that you probably heard about, but if not, I'll just tell you quickly that Patricia makes these on her farm in Norway out of birch wood from her farm. She hand cuts them and sands them and polishes them with her own homemade bee butter from her bees and honey. And they're fashioned after the traditional mitten blockers from the Selbu area, right where she lives. She's done some other vlogs about those. If you're curious, you can look back in the history of the vlog episodes and learn. And they're just gorgeous. So I'm looking forward to when I can block out my billy goat's mittens on these. And speaking of that collaboration I mentioned earlier, Patricia and I are collaborating for about these blockers and a couple of my products together in a kit of some sort. I don't know the specific details yet, but I do know that we're going to offer my Lotion Bar and my wool wash with the blockers at some point soon. And where are we here? There we go. I make a Lotion Bar, which is solid at room temperature, but as you hold it between your palms, it melts, and then you can rub it on your hands. And it's just very not sticky and not oily and greasy. It's with beeswax, organic refined coconut oil, and shea butter, and scented with essential oils of orange, lavender, frankincense, and cedarwood. So it's a lovely blend just to breathe in. But frankincense and lavender are especially great for your skin. Of course, the other ingredients are too, and it's very handy to toss in your knitting bag or wear your purse and keep it in this tin. And there it is. It's about 1.25 inches across diameter, and it lasts a long time because it's not being squeezed out of a tube, and it just melts off a little bit each time, and you rub it in thoroughly. And actually, I need some right now, but this is a new one, so I'm not going to use it. Also, I'm going to offer the wool wash soap, which I make, and it's not a non-rinse. You do have to rinse this, but it has lanolin in it. So you're after your yarn has been processed, and if you've hand spun it, you've washed it and scoured it, and you've taken the lanolin out, so you can keep your equipment clean and spin easily. But this extra lanolin going back in helps to condition your yarn a little bit, and shea butter and essential oils. Also silk. Anyway, you can see the label later. I'll probably post it on Instagram at some point, or you can email me at chickenwoodstudio@gmail.com if you have any questions or you want information or you want to order some separately as well. I'm in the Northeast New York State, upstate New York, and I'm happy to ship, for the cost plus the shipping. So the wool wash, man, it's just a lovely blend of pines and fir and a little of geranium, and I don't have my list with me, but I will probably have to make that available. Someone might want to know, but it smells great, as Patricia said, like a walk in the woods. Maybe among the wildflowers in the woods. But you put it in this little muslin bag and suds up, or take it out of the bag and suds up. The bag is Could be used either way. Actually, I haven't tried it by wetting the bag, but or you can just suds it up as a bar and let it dry and store it in the bag, because it does need to dry in between uses, or it'll just kind of be a mess. But it's about this was about 1.5 ounces of soap, and that will last you a while too. And so, if you're interested, give me a shout. Looking forward to doing that with Patricia and having our precious natural handmade things going out to the world together. So, anywho, that's that. Let's talk about rescuing the Languished projects from the pile. Here's one that I don't know. I may have talked about this a long time ago. Sorry for the noise. And this is one I really do not want to frog and ditch, because it's so enjoyable to knit and the yarn is so delightful. Anybody recognize this one? It's from probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's Kate Davies' Hat for Harriet. There's a thread of yarn stuck in here messing it up. And the yarn is a hand spun, super soft, beautifully dyed fiber. And I have plenty of yarn to do this with. This is a pattern where you're supposed to weigh your yarn and knit halfway in, and when you're halfway through the yarn, turn and, finish up with the other half. I don't know that I did that. I'll have to check my notes. But I just love this. I can't part with this one. Have you guys made this before? A hat for Harriet? It's not the best presentation. I'll show you if I printed the photo on the pattern. I'm not sure that I did. I don't often do that. I mean, now I lately do because I have a color printer, but I didn't used to. Nope, I don't have the photo, but you could look that up. Hat for Harriet by Kate Davies. And there's a lot of, it's like, garter, bigger section and the lace section along the side. So the garter part is very soothing and the lace gives you enough interest to keep it going for you. And here's one other one from the pile, which I'm not ever going to frog this. That's not even a notion, but I might change what it's going to be. You know how people start blanket projects and then end up making pillows instead? Well, this is the Granny Stripes crochet blanket with scraps of sock yarn. And I love it. But I made it quite long, quite wide across, so each row kind of takes forever. Oh boy, I could probably get 2 cushions out of this one. That's folded in 4. But I don't know. I think I'm going to keep it going. But it's fun. The problem is I have 2 or 3 other scrappy sock yarn blankets going. And some are crocheted circles, crocheted squares, and then the miter square knitted ones. And I don't have enough sock yarn to finish 4 blankets, so just leave that up for time to decide. And I think I'm done with showing you those things. I did have just a couple more things, gifts that I just thought I would share with you that have come in recently. And one is from Carrie, My Wool Mitten on Instagram, and her farm is Serenity Farms. I've talked about her yarn before. I made some socks with her yarn, which I totally loved. She does a Corriedale alpaca blend, and this is a skein of her Corriedale alpaca, and it is an oatmeal color, which I'm a fan of. I love it. This is 55% Corriedale, 45% alpaca, all Michigan yarn, 2-ply. It's about 250 yards in 3 ounces. And it's called havre, which is oats in Swedish. So there's a precious bit of soulful stash that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with, but I'll enjoy it. Enjoy thinking about it and just holding it, thinking of Carrie and wishing her well and hoping her sheep are doing well. She's got a few sheep, and that's a lot of work. I know, we all know that, right? So hopefully spring will soon come to Michigan as well. We're all so ready for it. Also, I met Erin in Scotland. She is Mama to Abigail on Instagram, and Holland Handmade Company. She does a podcast, and now she's recently begun to a little yarn dyeing business. And I've been following her photos, and she recently she offered a set of minis. Speaking of my blankets, my scrappy socks, now I have to buy yarn to make those happen. So I ordered a set of minis, and Erin sent a few other things back with. So thank you, Erin. This is her card, and she's just starting off with a bang. This is the mini kit inspired by the Lake District. She was able to stay in Scotland after the festival and do some more traveling on her own. And these colors, if you go to her website or her Etsy shop, you might be able to read more about what each one is. And they're just a lovely, lovely blends. They'll go beautifully with my blankets. I really like them. I like her colorways are varied. Oh, sorry about the noise. That was not too bad. This one is speckled mini skeins. So they're multicolored, and they have a few more speckles in them than the others. They're going to be really fun. And then this finally, she popped in a large skein of sock yarn, which is just so pretty. What's it called? Is there a name? OOAK Speckle. I'm not sure what her design title is for this particular colorway, but it's got blues, grays, maybe a little walnut and goldy cream, pinks and purples. It's just right up my alley. Whoa, it's beautiful. It is a 80-20 superwash merino and nylon blend. So if you were curious about any of Erin's work and yarns, hop over to Holland Handmade. Thanks again. Okay, where do I go now? Oh, right. I want to see if my Ravelry page is loaded because I wanted to talk about herbs again. And I had asked a question. I guess I told you that already. And several people answered back. And I used the random generator, to determine who the winner would be of a special bar of soap from Chickenwood Studio. Okay, so I had to resort to my phone because my Kindle was not loading very quickly. So Nenita in New York City wrote that she loves mint and uses it for tea, which we do too. It's great stuff. And I put it in my soap. Queen Maxine wrote, for teas, I try to always have mint and lemon balm growing. I just planted lemon balm seeds last week, and I quite like them brewed together. That sounds good. This year, I was fortunate that almost everything overwintered, as I have been diligent in covering the group of pots when the temps dipped. And of course, it helps that I'm in Texas. Currently, I have a surplus of most of what is growing: oregano, parsley, rosemary, sage, tarragon, thyme, chives, garlic chives, mint. Most have several varieties, and I think my current fave is tarragon, which is fabulous, tossed into scrambled eggs at the last minute. I've never done anything with tarragon before, so I'm going to have to try that, Maxine. Altalisa says that she has a large herb garden, but has always used them for cooking. This past year, she's been thinking about expanding her knowledge, how to use them in other ways. Pardon me, because of the other podcast, Ninja Chickens and A Gentle Knitter, who I both have watched and enjoyed and have been inspired by their use of herbs and natural things, for health and well-being, as well as in cuisine. So you might want to take a look at those, Ninja Chickens and A Gentle Knitter. That's Maria and Michelle. No, A Gentle Knitter is Nicole. Okay, and they often discuss herbs and the ways they use them. Last fall, I expanded my current garden and put in a new garden alongside the barn on the property. I'll be moving all my herbs to the new barn garden, as the deer don't usually bother the herbs. Lisa has a 15-year-old sage plant. Wow. This fall, I put in feverfew, she says. Still needs to do research on that. tarragon, sage, mint, or oregano, I want to say because of all the British books I listen to. Chives, thyme, rosemary, bay, laurel, dill, lots of lavender, probably a few others I can't think of. Wow, Lisa, I need to come see your garden. Lisa lives about 45 minutes from me. She comes up for spinning sometimes. So Simona Maloney, she says her favorite herb is chocolate mint. I've not really heard of chocolate mint. I infuse it in milk and make panna cotta. That sounds delightful. And Corky Cat from Massachusetts. I've had an herb garden for years, and my hands down favorite is thyme, which I use extensively. Why do I love it? Aside from the flavor, it is the only one that I can cut all winter and use as a fresh herb. I simply remove the snow that is covering it and cut what I need. Genius. Wow, Cat, that's awesome. And there was one more. That's Auntie Ellen, who said, I have a little kitchen herb garden and I love it. Surprisingly, the herb I reach for most is thyme. I put it in my tuna, my chicken dishes, fish, eggs, so I so enjoy it. For some reason, I can't get cilantro to thrive. I replant and replant. It dies within a week, usually. So weird. I want to see where she's from. I should know. I think she's in the Midwest somewhere. Ellen, let's see where you are. Illinois. Yeah. So I don't know if that would be her climate or her soil. I'm no expert. I'm so not an expert. I bought, those new plants I told you about. I picked up in Massachusetts. And one of them promptly died from the center out in a beautiful humid bathroom corner hanging. Maybe it got those little bugs. I haven't looked that closely yet, but I'm going to cut the ends and try to reroot them and replant and give it a second chance. The other ones are doing fine. So the random number generator gave me, and this person can choose their soap bar, whether it's to be citrusy or woodsy or floral. And you can let me know that in an email or a private message. And the winner is Corgi Cat from Massachusetts. Hi, Cat. So let me know what kind of soap you like, and I'll send it out to you. And thanks for speaking up on the list, the forum. So I think that's going to be it. I'll get back together again soon, I hope, and show you some really finished objects. Maybe some new weaving on the loom, maybe some progress on the rug, and some other things and treasures that I brought back from Scotland. So I hope you're all well today. Thanks for watching and listening. And I can be found on Instagram as LF Dubois, and Ravelry is the same, LF Dubois. So stop in and visit, say hello, leave a comment. Thanks again for coming over to the studio, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.